So, Matt, this is a big piece by Jane Mayer, and she has impeccable credentials when it comes to reporting. Much of this stuff is stuff that we, if we didn't know, we saw the broad outlines of, but to see it laid out in such a methodical way is a little bit disturbing. Let's talk about the relationship between Donald Trump and Fox News. When the campaign started out, Fox News and Donald Trump were, at loggerheads. And it's a little bit weird to think of Roger Ailes as some type of mitigating force, but that's what it appears it was.
Yeah, I think that's the take in this article. I think what's clear is during the campaign there were several different power centers. Mayer writes that the various different hosts were sort of allowed to go their own way, and so you had Hannity, who was very much an early supporter of Donald Trump. You had Bill O'Reilly sort of remaining neutral. Megyn Kelly somewhat more critical. The Fox and Friends gang were big supporters, as he had long been a regular guest on their programs. But Roger Ailes was at times somewhat concerned with the way Trump handled things, particularly the way Trump handled his relationship with Fox News itself. After the Republican primary debate in which Megyn Kelly went after Trump on his despicable treatment of women, Trump lashed out at Kelly, and what ended up happening was a lot of Fox's audience ended up rallying around Trump rather than around Fox, which I think was kind of a surprise for Ailes. And, it took a while, and there was clearly a metamorphosis over the course of the campaign. But at the end of the day, Fox ended up rallying to Trump's banner and becoming what it is now, which is more or less a state TV apparatus for the president.
And we should say, though, that there is reporting in the piece that suggests that Trump knew that question from Megyn Kelly was coming enough so that he complained before the debate.
Yeah, that is one of the revelations in the piece, that Trump had been informed of this ahead of time, that he knew something was up. This also comes up in Megyn Kelly's book as well, which I believe Mayer notes that, at one point she had become aware that he seemed to know what she was planning to do, and that was quite troubling. I mean, that is... at the end of the day, you end up with Ailes helping Trump out with his debate prep for the general election. So none of that is terribly implausible, and certainly something to keep in mind.
So, Matt, I mean, it seems to me, and I just want to stay in this sort of like this little narrow context of the story at this moment, is that... because it's very hard for me as someone who has followed the development of Fox News more or less professionally over the course of 15 years to accept the idea that from Ailes' perspective that there was some type of journalistic problem in being overly supportive of Donald Trump. I mean, when Barack Obama entered the White House in 2008, there was a broad sense that Fox News was, in many respects, simply a Republican Party mouthpiece. There was only dissent, frankly, amongst other reporters when the Obama administration tried to push Fox News a couple of seats back in the White House pool seats. I mean, literally, there were reporters from other news organizations who complained about that. But broadly speaking, those who followed these things understood that Fox News was not really a news outlet as much as they were as a propaganda arm for the Republican Party. Now, you can have left-leaning and right-leaning media, but they would simply toe the Republican Party line. It seems to me it's as if Ailes was was concerned about putting all of Fox's eggs in such a narrow basket, as opposed to it's inappropriate for us to be supportive of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think there's no question that Roger Ailes did not have a very strong sense of ethics, journalistic or otherwise, and the idea that he would avoid making the network too close to Trump because of out of some sense of ideals is deeply flawed. I think people have very short memories when it comes to Fox. By people, I mean those who don't pay attention to them professionally, like you and I do. There's a quote in here in the Mayor article from Bill Kristol. It says, Bill Kristol,
right,
who's a paid contributor to Fox until 2012 and is a prominent never-Trumper, said of the network, quote, "It's changed a lot. Before it was conservative, but it wasn't crazy. Now it's just propaganda." That is some self-serving nonsense. When
right.
Bill Kristol was being paid by Fox News, his colleague was Glenn Beck. And I've been watching Fox News professionally for 12 years. There is no period of time in which Fox News was crazier than in the 2009, 2010, 2011 Glenn Beck years, the early days of the Obama administration, when they were doing all sorts of ridiculous conspiracy theories. Now, things have changed to some extent. Fox has always been a propaganda apparatus for the Republican Party and the conservative movement, but those things change over time. And so you see the network reinventing itself. You see it going into a, sort of extreme over-the-top patriotism flair after the beginning of the war in Iraq. You see it reinventing itself as a, anti-Obama outlet that you have the network's executives referring to it as the Alamo, the sort of last stand,
right,
to prevent Obama and his socialism from taking over the country. And you see it reinventing itself again, leading into the 2016 elections as this current iteration that is, as one of the people quoted in the article said, state TV. It's a straight-up apparatus that is devoted to the president himself. And that's different, and that's, I think, scary in different ways than past iterations of Fox. But I think we need to get past the point that there was some golden age where Fox was a legitimate news organ and made a massive change in its practices. That's simply not the case.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think that is the real story here, it seems to me, is not just sort of the behavior and how it reflects, but how structurally, this thing is the relationship between the Trump administration, really Donald Trump. I mean, let's be honest. The Trump administration is not some type of sprawling enterprise. It is a small cabal, if you will, of people. That the way that Fox and Trump are intertwined is not only fascinating and scary from a structural standpoint, but it also has massive implications for the 2020 election and for any proceedings that are brought against Trump or happen against Trump in terms of accountability. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about those things. And let's also talk about how the interest of Fox News, not only do they serve Donald Trump, but Donald Trump has returned the favor in some respects. We got to take a quick break. I'm Sam Seder. This is Ring of Fire Radio. We'll be right back with Matt Gertz in just a moment.